You're listening to the Mike on the Right podcast.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to the Mike on the Right program. It is Thanksgiving week, episode 30, released on Monday, November 24th, 2025. And yes, as always, I am broadcasting from the heart of the heartland in central Indiana, the crossroads of America, the great Hoosier State. Continue to share and like, 5-star ratings, subscriptions, anything you can do to continue to grow this show. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. And as always, you can see this episode, hear this episode, and all those that came before it, the 29 that came before it, at MikeOnTheRight.com. As I said in the opener, it is Thanksgiving time. If you're watching the video, I've got the orange light in the background to signify fall and Thanksgiving. And if you are a deep follower of this show, you saw that I had put a poll on social media as to what this episode should signify. When I started this journey now well over 30 weeks ago, I had always thought in my head, hey, you know what? At the holiday seasons, specifically Thanksgiving and Christmas, I would love to do something that especially if I do this long term, something that is a tradition. And as you might recall, during the Christmas season, Rush Limbaugh always did a Christmas Thanksgiving storied theme to a part of his show. And I have always thought that would be a wonderful thing to do. And then as I kind of got closer to this one, I'm like, well, I wonder if I should just do it once a year. Maybe just Christmas. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to ask my faithful followers on social media. And you have spoken bigly, wildly in favor of something related to Thanksgiving. And now I could sit here and tell you all day long about how I smoke a turkey, which I am going to do. Several years now running. I could talk to you all about all the practical side of Thanksgiving, but what I really want to talk about today as you listen to this episode is really a couple of themes that as I was kind of studying and quieting myself and thinking about, well, what should I talk about? I don't want this to be super cliche. I want it to be moving and powerful, but I also want it to be relevant. And we can talk about all those things, right? But I think about just the general history of Thanksgiving, and it has been filled with good and bad, turmoil and strife and celebration, all across history. I mean, there were, of course, Thanksgiving-like feasts throughout history, specifically in the Americas, in 1600, when settlers and pilgrims came together with Native Americans and celebrated the harvest. And those were sometimes good times, and at other times it's like we've lost our villagers, we've had war, we've had sickness, and yet we still come to give thanks even in adversity, and that kind of really sticks with me because most people I think don't, because it's so commercialized now. Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and every day is some sort of holiday or special day, Entrepreneurs Day and Ice Cream Day and Coffee Day and Decaf Coffee Day and whatever that is, right? And so it's all commercialized. But when I think of Thanksgiving, it's time, especially for me, if you're listening today, that we need to come back to the heart of what that is and what that means. And for me, thanks and gratitude is rooted in faith. That doesn't mean it's comfortable. It's in times of prosperity and not. It's in times of stability and not. But the underlying foundation for me in faith and gratitude is my faith. And I'm not going to sit here today and lecture you about you need a faith. You do. I think you should. But I really want to talk about the joy and the spirit behind that. And so for me, gratitude for me is something that strengthens me in uncertain times. Again, gratitude doesn't pretend that everything is easy. It gives you strength in the face of what isn't. And a grateful heart stays anchored instead of being tossed around by every headline, every stressor, sickness, bad news, strife, arguments in family. And there's a lot of that around all of us today. Something is weighing on our minds as humans, as Americans, as Christians. And it isn't just political. There's so many things in our life that can really weigh us down, hold us down. But what Scripture teaches us is that gratitude is a shield. To be anxious for nothing, to praise with thanksgiving, to live with gratitude in our hearts. And for me, and gratitude becomes clarity. Gratitude and hope link together. And I know that can be hard to hear because there's also something we talk about a lot, especially in church settings, but even in non-faith related settings, that holidays can be tough for a number of reasons for a number of people. A bad memory, a death in the family around that time, someone that you were super close to. I mean, that happened to me twice in the same time. My grandmother on the Neal side, if you're looking at the video, you can see over here just a school bus all the way at the top. It's a cookie jar that was my grandmother's, who drove a bus for 30 years, Granny Neal. She died I think it was just, if I remember, just after Christmas. It was just like a day or two after Christmas. And then a couple days after that, my stepdad on January 1, just right in that time period. And that brings a lot of thoughts and emotions. And I was close to both of them. And that can be tough. And so I don't sit here today to say it's easy. You just got to have a grateful heart. You can make things easier if you're just thankful. You can make things easier if you just had a little more faith. No, if anyone is telling you that, tell them to just sit on down for a minute. Now, while all those things certainly can be true, that we hear all the time about, that gratitude and anxiety can't exist in the brain at the same time. And if we keep our eyes focused in one place, the distractions, all of those things are true and accurate. But faith is meant to be wrestled with. There is not one single person sitting on this earth today, and if they're telling you that, they're lying. That it's like, yep, I've got hold the fort till Jesus comes. I've got all this faith, and my heart never quavers. My foundation is never shaken. In death or adversity or monetary problems or family strife or losing my job or what have, nothing shakes me. Well, that's not true. That doesn't mean you lose your faith, but it's a wrestling and a struggling, and it's not about whether God exists or not, whether or not He's good or not, but we have this struggle. And for me, gratitude anchors me, but that is not perfect. And for you today, if you're struggling with something in your life, pointing you towards gratitude is the right direction. But that doesn't mean it's not hard. That doesn't mean it's not easy. It doesn't mean that it just comes naturally. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to fight for it and struggle for it, for peace and joy and thanksgiving and gratefulness. But it is the long-term solution. I saw something just maybe a day or so ago, and it's actually on my phone. I wish I had pulled it up. And actually, you know what? I think I'm going to only because of the conversation that we're having. I see that this is from an Instagram page that I saw. It says, "You need strength to face what's ahead. Strength comes from joy. Joy comes from His presence. This is the pathway. And this is what we are missing." And again, just because you have faith in God doesn't mean that things get easy. In fact, a lot of times they get harder, depending on especially where you are in life, especially if you're, in a place of serious consequence in leadership or in your community or where you work. But also those attacks come at home. But when we anchor ourselves in those things, we can cope, and gratitude really is the foundation of that. Now, thankfulness is not a mood; it's a muscle you build through repetition, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That we have emotional swings, we have issues and things that come up in our life, But that discipline is what keeps us steady. And so, you know what? There are folks, I know there are folks that have just had hit after hit after hit after hit after hit in a row, in a row, in a row. And it makes them question the goodness of God. But when you continue to rinse and repeat, when you continue to say, I'm going to stay grounded anyway, that doesn't make it easier, but it does change the posture of our heart, and it keeps us on a direction that God has called us to. Gratitude requires intentionality. Noticing blessings instead of scrolling past them, or, I hear this all the time, and I agree with this. We are right now living the life that we prayed for. Not in every circumstance, not in every little piece, but for me, I prayed for a long time about Kristen. I prayed for a long time about my son and the kids that are coming. I prayed for that a lot. And sometimes in the busyness and the good and the bad and work and strife and what have you, we lose perspective of that. And for me, that gratitude for me is, I'm praying for something different and something new than the next thing. Because we're always hungry and we're never satisfied. We're satisfied in Jesus. But as we continue through life, we want to go down the path of God's will. But for me, I always have to go back and anchor myself that I'm living the life right now that I prayed for, not in every piece, but in general, I am. And I encourage you to do the same. Go back and look at what those blessings are, because it's important. Faith frames gratitude as trust. Trusting in God that God is working even when life looks messy, and even when you don't want to feel thankful, or even, and again, struggling with that and having a down moment and crying or having that, none of that is bad. Feeling those feelings are valid, but we can't stay there. We have to look up. We have to look, and for me, looking up is the only way I get out of the rut. Looking at the blessings that are right in front of me, no matter how many or how few they may be, are a gift from God. We need to slow down to recognize those blessings. Modern life is loud and chaotic, and it's overstimulating, and it numbs us to the everyday good things. Thanksgiving forces us. It's kind of the one time in American society that's like, time out. As many people stop working as possible. Get to your family, or have your family get to you, or your friends, your adopted family, your blood, whatever, whoever. And settling down and taking a moment to, it's shared over a meal, and it's shared over some football, and it may be shared over an adult beverage, and it's shared over kids and grandkids for a moment, one day a year. But that one day a year is a symbol. It's not in perpetuity. It's just like going to church. You can't just go to church once. It's like going to the gym. I clearly don't. It's like going to the gym. You can't just go just once. You can't just eat one salad. You have to keep going. When you pause, the blessings that were buried under the noise suddenly reappear. Stillness invites gratitude. Stillness is something faith repeatedly calls us to, and slowing down realigns your priorities towards people, towards purpose, and towards peace. Gratitude for your purpose. If you're calling, for your direction, every person has a calling. Some people, it is rooted in the extracurricular. Some, it is rooted in their job. But we do all these things as if we are doing them for the Lord. And gratitude helps you recognize what your calling is. The path doesn't have to be fully clear for you to give thanks to where God is leading you and for where God has led you from. Gratitude for opportunities you didn't expect and for growth that you didn't see coming. Thankfulness for the people God places in your path. Mentors, encouragers, family, friends, and maybe even those that He saved you from and situations that He saved you from. Gratitude helps you see your direction more clearly, especially in seasons of transition. And I'm living that today, right now. And so I know exactly what that feels like. And I talked about this before, how not all holidays are easy for people. And this time of year, with just as much joy and celebration, comes with so much heartache. Not everyone walks into this season with joy. Some are facing grief and loneliness or pressure or sickness or disaster. And gratitude doesn't erase pain. Hear that very clearly today. It does not erase your pain. It does not, put everything in motion right at that moment, but it provides a way for you to navigate through it. And that gratitude also comes with surrounding yourself with as many people as is necessary to help you through that and to help you climb that gratitude mountain to as far up as you can get. Faith promises that God draws near to the brokenhearted. My former boss, Mike Pence, used to say that all the time in periods of strife and when meeting somebody who was dealing with brokenheartedness. The God draws near to those people if they open themselves up. If they say, I'm going to choose gratitude and joy and your presence, I'm going to ask for help, I'm going to pray. Again, it's not you just don't take this magic elixir and it's all better. But it is a path and it is a journey, and it comes with mountaintops and valleys, just like the wrestling of faith in general. And I want to encourage you to offer grace to yourself and to others, especially during the holiday. Sometimes I'm not a patient person. If you know me, sometimes I'm not a patient. I want to move the ball down the field. I want to move distractions. I want to get out of the rut. I want to, if I've hit a brick wall, I immediately, okay, let's start putting things back together and get back. And sometimes it just is a moment to just give yourself grace, just step back for a second and look and pray and get around people and reset and give grace. And I want to encourage you, give yourself some grace. Give those around you this season some grace. Gratitude and sorrow can coexist, and that's okay. But sorrow cannot win out. And this season can still hold meaning, even if it looks different this year or any year, as you continue to remember what you may be going through. Again, you're not going to forget it. God can heal it. Gratitude improves our perspective. It calms your decision making. It stabilizes your emotions before choices are made. And a thankful perspective reduces reactionary thinking and helps you stay centered. It widens your view, and suddenly you're no longer reacting to the circumstances in front of you because you're grounded and you're rooted. And those roots continue to run deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, so that you cannot be easy. That doesn't mean you're not going to be swayed, but you're not going to be ripped out of that foundation. Our faith teaches us humility and patience, and gratitude reinforces both of those. And better judgment comes from a quieter, more thankful mind. It allows us to strategize. It allows us to hear. It allows us to think. And there's such a great connection between having gratitude and hope. Gratitude reveals the blessings that you already have, and hope reminds us of what is still possible, that there is more. If you have breath in your lungs, there is more to do. I was just listening at church. Now I'm going to recording this on a Sunday. I was just at church. We were just talking about how we have seen 80 and 90-year-old folks get baptized for the first time. It is never too late. It is never too late to have gratitude. It is never too late to have hope. It is never too late to look forward. It is never too late to have a relationship with your King, even if it's just for one day on this earth, because it sets eternity for you. Together, gratitude and hope form a foundation of resilience. And when you recall how God has been faithful, hope for the future grows naturally. Again, looking at not every circumstance is perfect, but we go back and we choose to be grateful for where God has brought us from and what He has given us and what He's doing, even in the midst of that adversity. Gratitude reminds us that the story is not finished. We don't have the full story yet. There's more ahead. And families and communities and entire nations thrive when gratitude fuels their hope. All umbrellaed by faith, all foundationally by faith. And so as I close today's episode, as we get ready for, I'm assuming most folks will listen to this as you always do, probably before Thursday, before Thanksgiving. But if you so happen to listen to this after that, I want to invite you to reflect. As you've heard the sound of my voice, I know this wasn't a news story. I know there's a lot going on in the news, especially in Indiana with redistricting and with the threatening of legislators. And there's so much I really wanted to talk about today from a news perspective. And by the time I get to it, it may all be over. Because the next episode will be, December 1st, which is when the session was supposed to start. There's so much I want to talk about, but I want you to take a moment to put all that aside. Put your job aside. Put your health concerns just for a moment. Put whatever it is aside. That we're not throwing it away. We're not ignoring it. We're just going to put it aside. And I want you to think about and name, even by name, the specific blessings from this year. Not just in generalities, specific ones. Think of 1, 2, 3, 10. Because everybody's got one. You could have a really tough year. You can have a really tough set of years. But there is something that you can latch onto with the foundation of your faith to be grateful for, to fuel the hope that you need to go ahead. Share gratitude openly with family and friends. I don't like it when we all sit around a table like each one of us is going to say what we're thankful. If you do that, great, good for you. I cringe when I think about it. So I'm not saying that has to be done. You can have, but you can talk about, with your family. I'm just so grateful to have each and every one of you. And I do that. I will do that. And I encourage you to do the same. And think about where God has shown up in your life and in the life of those around you, and how you can show up for other people in this next season. We have this talk all the time about mental health, and mental health has been, as I've talked about on this show, has been strewn aside by the previous generation, and it's hurting us and others today. But it is also not a replacement to not stand up and have empathy and to help others. There's a time to draw back, help yourself, get help, prayer, what have you. But it doesn't take away from, you're going to have been somewhere that before that you got out of, that someone is in now. I think about the story, I'm sure comes from someone else, but from the show The West Wing, and Josh and Leo are together, and Josh had just gone through something traumatic, and Leo is his boss. He's the White House chief of staff in the show, and when Josh comes out of this kind of therapy session, and Leo waited for him this whole time, the whole day, however long it took, and he said that he talked about. There was a guy that fell down in a well, and people would pass by and say, well, here, I can't help you, or I'll throw you some rope or whatever. And a third guy, a friend, comes by and say, what are you doing down there? And he said, I fell down here and I can't get out. I need help up. And the guy that's up above jumps in, and the guy in the hole says, what are you doing? Why'd you jump in? He's like, well, I've been down here before. I know how to get out of here. Come with me. And we are all called to that at some point. Someone's going to come and get us, and we're going to have to go back and someday and help get others and help others. And so take the time to reflect, take the time to recharge, take the time to love your family and your loved ones and your friends. Take time for yourself but build upon that foundation of faith and gratitude that fuels hope for yourself, for those around you, so that then you can help others this season and in seasons to come. In closing, we're going to continue if I continue to do this show, Thanksgiving and Christmas are going to be very specific to a theme. I won't talk about the same thing every year, but I really wanted to take the time to talk about this. I know I had talked about being encouraged in discouraging times, and this is kind of similar to that. But as we enter this season of both joy and sorrow, and celebration and pain, positive and negative, with all the world that is around us and what the media is trying to divide us on, and any of those things, right? it's time to focus on what truly matters, and that is faith and family and freedom. Thank you all so very much for listening. Again, you can hear this episode, watch this episode, and all the others that precede it at mikeontheright.com. Happy Thanksgiving to every single one of you. Have a wonderful time with your family and your friends and those around you. Have a great